Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. My guest in the studio, Shamima Muslim, is Deputy Presidential Spokesperson. Alhaji Haruna Mohammed is Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. Godfrey Bokwing is Professor of Finance and Economist at the University of Ghana. The three of them are right here in the studio, and joining us via Zoom, Professor Kwesienin, Security Analyst. Dr. John Osai Kwapong is Fellow CDD Ghana and Project Director, the Democracy Project. We also have Reverend Father Michael Kweko, Director of Governance, Justice and Peace, Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for making time to join us this morning.
Thank you for having us. Good morning.
Great. So we are beginning with the rather disturbing situation of the continuing Galamsey situation. And now the Kenashigbe and his team, the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences have also risen up, and they are baring their teeth at the president to take concrete action. At least the two lead institutions, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey and the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, who have also been on this Galamsey crusade for a very long time, are demanding two clear things. It was for a repeal you promised, Mr. President, and not for an amendment of LI 2462. Why amend? We'll understand why the amendment still doesn't work for the campaigners. There must be a state of emergency declared in those areas devastated by Galamsey. The president appeared to have been positive about this in opposition, but now what is happening? Why is he hesitant? Let's listen to a couple of people, Kenashigbe, Hanabisu, who has gone through a bit of a problem, the Minister Mutala, and also the Chinese ambassador, who is saying, you just can't do away with small-scale mining, find another way around. Let's watch them.
Bracket minerals in forest reserve, mining in forest reserves, Amendment Regulation 2025 will mature and come into effect today. As a people, our only recourse will be to continue our court case. This will be unfortunate at a time when Ghanaians expect a true reset in governance. The executive must not sit aloof while citizens are left to their fate to fight for the future of the very country we entrusted into the hands of His Excellency the President. While the NDC leadership under His Excellency the President publicly condemned illegal mining, the Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources and IGP have demonstrated positive actions to deal with the scourge of Galamsey. However, some of their local officials allegedly profit from it. We demand, one, that immediate investigations into the case of Honorable Oscar Labi, MP for our win, and the chiefs that have accused him that he has counter-accused. And these two chairpersons of Axim, constituency chairpersons of Axim and Dunkwao, by the police and national security, ensuring complete transparency and no room for political protection. Two, public disciplinary action by the NDC if any of these allegations are proven.
It will never be an exchange of what we have to do. Never. It's like the word N-E-V-E-R, N-A-U-V-A-R, never, nunca in Spanish. No. And in fact, I've not left the red mode. It's still there. Only that you don't know when I'm moving.
When next you're moving.
No. That will never come out. Not even with the staff. I have just about 2-3 people that will work. And it will never, nothing that you do me. And so I want to allay their fears. Okay? China, when I went there, by the grace of God, I was encouraged by them to push, and they said if there's any support that we need for that, they are ready to support.
Let's wrap up on the excavators. If you go to these communities, that's the machinery you'll find, but they're huge. So if someone is transporting them or moving them into these communities, we should be able to find them. And also, what form of responsibility should these heavy equipment companies take in terms of paying royalties for the level of destruction taking place?
I think that the president has spoken several measures that they put in place when it comes to these excavator things. But notwithstanding, though, we still have some excavators still in the bushes. The week before we went to, I think, the Achuma or Mankransu area there, brand new excavator, brand new, it's in the bush, so it's ready to destroy. And what we got up from our confrere in collaboration with the regional commander and the regional minister, I'm very grateful, Honorable Minister. They've been able to move them to, I think, to the RCC. Right. I'll be following up because so just after that, we had to go for the China Africa Trade Expo. And so I'll be following up. I want to push for these excavators to be ushered, and the money to be accounted for. What has to go to government goes to government, and I propose that what will come out of it should be channeled back to the community to repair some of the damages that they have done.
All the concerns that have been raised are concerns that are being dealt with the petition against the sitting member of parliament, in which, if you listen to the press conference, the president or the presidency acknowledged receipt of the petition and the necessary investigation are being done on the matter. This government is not willing under any circumstance to shield anybody who is engaged in this. And today, the LI 2462 is now a law.
Minister, so no total repeal?
Well, I think that the major issue that was raised, even so, if we bring a new law today, it's most likely in the next 1 month, 2 months, people may have concerns about it. Those issues they have concerns about it are issues that were the major concern they had at the time was the authorization or the privilege the presidency had, to authorize people to go and mine in forest reserve areas, which we have taken away. I realized that there are some aspects of the existing law, excluding what has been repealed, that they still have problems with. And I can assure him and assure everybody that these are things government is considering seriously.
I do not know what's the reason why when people say Galamsey, they normally equals that with Chinese. But actually, it is not Chinese who, the issue is not originated from Chinese. You can see those mining, Chinese people cannot get the license, cannot get the permit. It's the Ghanaian people who draw Chinese people over here, and some of those people who are even caught red-handed, even though they are caught red-handed, they are just, they're just some like migrant workers to come here to make a living. I'm not treated well because they always say, because I have a social media, when I posted X on my social media, then people say, "Hey, Ambassador Galamsey, it seems Galamsey is caused by China. So this is unfair to me. Am I correct? This is unfair to me. This is really unfair to me, and unfair to the overwhelming majority of Chinese. They have involved a lot of sectors. You can see, you can say, a lot of buildings built by Chinese companies, your roads built by Chinese companies, your port built by Chinese companies. But is any normal Ghanaian people know about this? Or even they know it, they always say Galamsey. They always say Galamsey.
Right. So, Prof, do you understand why the campaigners can't seem to take a rest?
I understand. I've said it before that if anything will cause me to leave this country, it will be irresponsible mining. And let's not take it for granted. The biggest threat to Ghana's economy is irresponsible mining.
Explain that.
The biggest threat to our very economic survivability is irresponsible mining. And I want to appeal to the president. I know he wants to leave a legacy. That legacy must be linked to restoration of our ecological sustainability. He can't run away from that. Look, I am expecting going forward that the world will begin to boycott our gold. Because this is blood gold. This is blood gold. We are talking about green gold. The world is moving more towards sustainability. Of course, I understand that given the stage of our development, we need to balance how the extent to which we move on the path of sustainability, green economy, energy transition, and all of that. But this is not a good balance. This is an intentional drive of creating existential threat that is much closer than perhaps anyone would think. And it is not out of proportion when people are concerned. Because you know something, the economy can never exist outside the environment. In fact, there's a reason why if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, everything is linked to sustainability. Whether you look at it from poverty reduction, narrowing inequality, and all of that. In fact, there is a reason why for a long time, when we talk about peace, they are associated with marketing, 7 Ps, 5 Ps. But we talk about peace in development now because the understanding is that development must meet the 5 Ps. What are the 5 Ps? It must preserve the planet Earth. So any growth process that does not substantially preserve our planet Earth is not sustainable. And the drive is that we should be moving away from environmentally destructive growth model to a more sustainable one. How do you achieve that? You achieve that by developing innovative, generative ideas that leverages on your finite natural resources to a more sustainable growth. But we are not doing that. And we are saying that development must be about the people. It must reflect peace and all of that. Unfortunately, we have taken a path. And you see, it's not just our economy. We need to solve or deal with irresponsible mining even as a way of preserving our democracy. The integrity of our democracy is at risk. Of course, I can understand the interplay between political party financing and all of that. So if you look at the complex nature of this, perhaps is the reason why politicians are more effective in opposition trying to deal with this because they identify with ordinary Ghanaians. Probably they hope that will benefit them. Then when they have enjoyed the benefit of that, they come to power and it seems like things have changed overnight.
The claim is that this government is only 6 months in office and they have shown promise. They have cracked down, they've done a lot of things. Hannah Bisu, you saw there, literally put her life, in harm's way, herself in harm's way, trying to help in this process. The IGP, as Erastus Asaredonko updates us, is appearing to do quite a great job in, raiding community by community.
Samson, we are not ungrateful people. When we see good, we can see. When we see genuine intention backed by action, I think we can see. So far, if you look at the other indicators, and I have said it, that the economy is rebounding strongly. You look at the aggressive strengthening of the currency, of course, we could have reservations about the pace. You look at Fitch rating. I was actually expecting this much earlier, okay? And if you look at the kind of leadership the president has put on the table, I think that gives confidence to the Minister of Finance and the Governor of Bank of Ghana. I respect the president for that. In fact, Samson, it was the reason why I supported the 1 Ghana cedi levy. I looked at the dynamic. I said, look, if you have a good CEO with a good plan, you need to support him with resources to deliver on that. It was the reason why I supported that. So I congratulate the president on those lines. But Mr. President, when it comes to how you are dealing with irresponsible mining, I am afraid I am not with you. And something, yes, 6 months is too short. But you know what? 6 months has also been long enough for the president to demonstrate. Do we need like 3 years to declare state of emergency? How many years do we need to repeal the LI, which they all agreed in opposition that it ought to go. And so it's not like we are ungrateful. It's not like we don't appreciate what the president is doing. But what we also know is that if the president demonstrates the same level of leadership we have seen in other areas of the economy, we will see better results.
Okay. Haruna, the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, they have been at this for a very long time. And they organize, lectures to try to diagnose the situation and prescribe solutions. They say our forests are not just natural spaces. They are our last line of defense against climate change, water insecurity, and biodiversity loss. Preserving them is not optional. It is a national duty. And they demand a total repeal, that's revocation, of the LI 2462, not just the removal of Regulation 3, Sub-Regulation 2. I'll share that with all of you shortly. A firm and binding presidential policy that prohibits all mining, exploration, prospecting, and extraction in all forest reserves. Immediate termination of all mining and prospecting activities currently taking place in forest reserves.
Yes, Samson. First, I would say good morning to your cherished viewers and my colleague panelists on this particular platform and others that are joining online. I think that the Ghana Academy of
Arts and
Sciences has been very consistent in their call to ensure that our environment is being preserved. I think that they are forcefully making it now because they have not seen the needed confidence in the current administration vis-a-vis their call when they were in opposition. And Samson, if you permit me, you will recall that when the NDC was in opposition, they had made certain propositions and called the government of Akufo-Addo to execute a certain mandate that the Ghanaian public had given to him per the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. They said that they were calling on government to declare a state of emergency. And we all know the power that is trusted to His Excellency the President, then Akufo-Addo, was asked that he should declare a state of emergency. And it was within him to have done that. And this was immediate. The call was immediate that it should be called. And then again, a temporary ban on small-scale mining was also something that was called when they were in opposition. They also called for an immediate and forceful clampdown on all Galamsey activities or sites. And they also called for a repeal of the LI 2462, not to mine in the forest reserves as you have indicated. But if you ask yourself and follow the report of Asari Donko, a very renowned reporter in this particular area, I believe that he needs to get an award in that particular area, getting to those particular sites, risking his life to go through, to cover and to preserve the forest reserves for our country is very dear. You will see that obviously this government that we have called a settings government certainly doesn't have the gravitas to be able to hold this particular canker. And they are sitting on using the Galamsey activities in opposition to get governance, and they are virtually turning their back on us. You've asked very critical questions, and you've also asked that they have been able to do one or two things. And you've talked about how the IGP is constantly relating and reporting as to how activities are being done, how they are invading communities and sites. Samson, you agree with me that this is not the first time that our security forces have been able to go to the forest reserves, the site, Galamsey sites, to clamp them down. This is not the first time that we have banned equipments in the field. This is not the first time that a citizen of Ghana, in fact, the number one citizen of Ghana, in the person of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, had put his own presidency on the line. So I think that these things that they are doing are things that has happened. What is stopping them from having the state of emergency? He has the power. Nobody has taken the power away from President Mahama to have a state of emergency, to ensure that what he had promised the good people of Ghana is what he actually going to carry out.
The public's natural expectation will be that you will rather be agreeing with them why they should not be declaring a state of emergency, because you know the reasons why it should not be declared. When it was called on, it was demanded, Akufo-Addo refused.
And the person that called for it saw that it was necessary. So God being so good, he has given him the mandate. The person decides not to do it. The person tells you that he's going to repeal a certain law whilst in opposition. And they're very clear in their minds.
That's right.
Very clear in their mind. You see, His Excellency, the current president, did not come by default. He has become a president before. You know that he has traveled all that line. He has been an MP. Some say he has been an assemblyman, which I cannot confirm. If that is true, from assemblyman to an MP, a deputy minister, vice president, president, former president, and now president. So he's very clear in his mind. He's been able to know and travel through all the development stages of our country. And he clearly understands what the law is. So he comes in, and certainly he refused to repeal, because repeal is repeal. It is not amendment. He goes and to amend a certain portion, as you have indicated, Regulation 3 sub 2 of that particular act. And that clearly defies that logic. Why are you not doing what you told the people of Ghana? You promised them. They gave you the opportunity. You use it to win political power. And you come in and you have to fold your arms. It is true that I agree with Prof. that if he has to travel out of the country or run away from this country, it's because of what? Unregulated or illegal mining activities that is not done, supported by law. And I think that when he says that, maybe many people may not understand why he's saying so. You see, we all drink water. Nobody can stay alive without water. Why would we be drinking water that is contaminated, that contains a lot of heavy metals, that you take it into your system and you cannot survive with that? A certain government, a certain party comes in, and this is certainly what they want to give to us. So they are not prepared. They have gotten the power, and to hell with the people of Ghana. And environmental protection and water bodies. You know how they were coming with water, packing them, and then repackaging them and putting labels on them. Now, today, it is not even water. If you ask Asari Donko, it is mad. You can't get the water. The water is gone. The excavators, even those that they have even vanished. Where have they gone? I think that the NDC need to answer more questions, because God has given them the opportunity, and Ghanaians are seeing their results, and that is what they are making.
Okay. I'll move on. I wanted to say something, because we have to stay factual when we make these claims about excavators have vanished, the water has become mad. We have to be factual about what we say. Let me go to Dr. Osai-Kwapong. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Now, I read a part of the open letter that was written to the president by the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, and they say among other things that a forest reserve is not a mine in waiting. Forest reserves exist to protect biodiversity, ensure clean water, regulate climate, and preserve the balance of life. Authorizing mining in such areas defies both logic and the very purpose for which these reserves were created. They say the LI 2462 must be repealed in full because it is unconstitutional. The law gives power to the minister and president that properly belong to the Minerals Commission, violating clear constitutional boundaries. It is legally flawed. The minister who introduced this LI delegated powers he did not have. The president cannot legally be granted mining approval powers in forest reserves without Parliament's explicit direction, and only on the advice of the Minerals Commission under Article 269(2) of the Constitution. It will destroy our environment. They say Ghana already suffers from polluted rivers, degraded lands, and disappearing forests. Weak mining enforcement has left a trail of devastation. Allowing mining in forest reserves will only make this worse. It breaks international promises. Ghana has committed to global climate and biodiversity goals under the Paris Agreement, the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, and others. The LI moves us in the opposite direction. And finally, they say it puts future generations at risk. Forests store carbon, protect against floods and droughts, and provide food, water, and medicine. Once again, they are gone forever. Once gone, they are gone forever. And that's where they're now asking for the president to do 3 straight things. To issue a clear and binding policy that permanently bans all mining in forest reserves. Repeal the LI entirely without delay. And finally, for Ghanaians to speak up, stand up, and defend their natural heritage. Yes, Prof.
Yes, Samson. Good morning to you. Good morning to the co-panelist. Good morning to your viewers as well. It's this Galamsey issue, to borrow your term on Newsfile, continues to be quite a vexed matter. And every so often we have, particularly our 2 main political parties, put out ideas, solutions, ways in which they believe that you can deal with the Galamsey menace. Most of the time in opposition, their proposed ideas seem to be a lot more forceful than when they're in power. I know when you follow the conversations, they do recognize that there are also some quote-unquote political risk in dealing with Galamsey. But you don't have a choice but to deal with this, because ultimately the consequences of this issue will not discriminate by party colors. What I find instructive in all of this conversation is, and I wrote about this just before the 2024 election, as citizens kept increasing the pressure and more demands on ending Galamsey. One of the things I argued is that the demands of citizens were quite at odds with what the political parties in their manifestos were promising. Any careful analysis of the manifestos of the 2 main political parties in the lead up to 2024, you would notice that, in my opinion, there was a deliberate attempt not to create a picture of a heavy-handed approach to dealing with Galamsey, versus what citizens were clamoring for is, a more forceful, heavy-handed approach. If you look at all of the proposals, anywhere between government support for responsible artisanal small-scale mining, if you look at some of the ideas they shared around greater regulatory oversight, improved practices for artisanal small-scale mining, it was this conscious attempt not to create this impression that we are either going to ban it or we're going to be so heavy-handed, because nobody wanted to lose the politics of the issue. So until such time that our 2 main political parties, in my opinion, can forge and build some consensus around how you deal with the politics of it, you would get this constant trading of you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything. Now, on the question of the LI, if you look at President Mahama's update at the end of the 120-day social contract, I can understand what he put out that day, right? That it appears to me that what he saw in the LI was this perverse incentive that grants the president or the minister this power to issue licenses or grant permission for people to mine in forest reserve. So what he said on that 120 days is amend the LI, remove that perverse incentive. But he didn't leave it there. He also said, now amend the Minerals and Mining Act 703 and ban any kind of mining in forest reserve. Put those two together and you get the removal of this idea of we can go into our forest reserves and mine. So I understood that and I can understand that if he puts those two together, he believes it addresses the issue, except that the politics of it does not allow him to take that approach of amending the LI and going to Act 703 to ban mining in forest, because what would constantly come up is you promised to totally repeal the LI and you have no option but to repeal the LI, even though I believe that going the route that he's proposing can get at the twin problem that he's trying to address.
Have you seen signs of sincere commitment in getting rid of this?
I mean, you've seen some initiatives at trying to address this issue. What I say is that if for nothing at all, the president as candidate in 2024, his party put out some very specific things in terms of how they can fight Galamsey. If for nothing at all, just take all of those ideas. I categorized them into greater, there were things about greater regulatory oversight, improved practices, government support. If nothing at all, take those proposals from the manifesto and show that one after the other, you're trying to roll it out. Because after all, as a candidate, those are the ways that you promised you can fight Galamsey and fight it effectively. So if you want to show the public that commitment, in addition to the things that citizens are clamoring for, just start rolling out those policies. For me, that is what would show the Ghanaian people that the commitment to fight Galamsey was not just based on political expediency whilst in opposition, but really there is a true commitment to deal with it.
In 30 seconds, must the citizens reason with the government when it promises to revoke a particular law and now decides to amend it rather than revoke?
So as I have said, I believe that the way President Mahama on his 120 days said, amend and then also deal with the ban on forest mining reserve in the Mining and Minerals Act 703. For me, it's an approach that I am willing to reason with the government about. However, repeal is repeal. And since that is what you promised, citizens have every right to demand that that is what you do. And at some point, I think that is what the president would have.
So regardless, the citizens must not take any excuse for non-repeal, correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much. I'm coming to Shamima, and then I will end up with Reverend Father Michael Kweku, who also, when the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra went on the streets to demonstrate against the ecocide, he was the man leading and speaking for the demonstrators. I was one of those demonstrators. Now, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. Well, let me give you an idea. It is a coalition, a very formidable coalition. Over 20 different serious organizations are in there. You have the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, you have One Ghana Movement, you have Ghana CSO platforms on SDGs, you have BRACE, you have CASA Initiative Ghana Stakeholder Engagement Forum, you have the General Transport, Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union, you have the Peasant Farmers Association, Ghana Institution of Engineering, Institution of Engineering and Technology Ghana, Graduate Students Association of Ghana, New Media Association of Ghana, Ghana Institute of Architects, Institute of Public Relations, Ghana Institute of Foresters, Africa Center for Energy Policy, Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, Research Scientists Association, University Teachers Association, UTAG, Ghana Mine Workers Union, and the list goes on. I suppose that government takes them seriously. They held a press conference. They commended the IGP and his team for stepping up efforts to combat illegal mining. However, they asked that there's a need for clear enforcement and compliance regime that will fix the cracks that needs to be fixed. They say that the government made a solemn vow to the people of Ghana to revoke the LI 2462. That's what it must do, scrap it entirely. They say if mining in forest reserve is haram to this government, then the government must prove it by that repeal. It must arm our officers to deal ruthlessly with and apprehend offenders. It must end the impunity. It says the government must prosecute politically exposed persons engaging in illegal mining, and they point to specific persons. We understand that some investigation will go on. They say gun-wielding gangs now operate with terrifying boldness, and if this government does not act decisively, no one is safe. We saw Hanabisu go in there, and the story must only happen in a stateless, place, not in a country with police. They say a state of emergency will empower the security forces to nip this emerging national security threat in the bud. If this is not done urgently, the repercussions will be dire. What do you say?
All right. Good morning to you, Samson, and very good morning to all of our viewers. I would like to start, first of all, by just making some preliminary remarks before I come to your question. I mean, Prof, all of you have been real citizens over the years in shaping, the destiny of this country. And I think that's what we want. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama continues to invite citizens to contribute their quota towards, the growth and sustainability of this country. But I'd like to disagree with you most respectfully when you say that you're calling for a possible ban on the gold from Ghana because it is blood gold. Prof, with all due respect, you do know that Ghana has been mining for several centuries, in fact, and decades, and there are legitimate mining concerns in the country and the contribution of mining to our economy. And especially even now with the gold board, within 4 or 5 months of trying to regularize the sector, we are already speaking about $3 billion that has come to shore up, our reserves and also contribute to the gains we are seeing in our economy and the stabilization of our economy. So to make a blanket statement that there should be a possible ban of the gold from Ghana, I think it's unfair to the country itself, and it's also unfair to all the legal and sustainable mining companies that we're still, working with. There was also the call that has been made by the CSO for some specific actions to be taken. What I'm hearing everyone say is not that this government hasn't shown commitment to act and is actually acting. What I'm hearing us say is that we need to do more. And as a government, we hear that. And we will do more as we are doing more. Within the corridors of government, it is a state of emergency with regards to the issue of Galamsey and with regards to the issue of regulating mining in forest reserves. And so there needs to be that distinction. when we are speaking about Galamsey and illegal mining, it is already illegal. So we do not need a legislation to enforce that which is already illegal, because it is already illegal mining. So that distinction requires to be made so we can clarify the issues and have germane conversations around them. Every government, like other companies of growing concern, requires what they would describe as a social license to operate. That social license is engineered through trust of the people in the leaders and trust of the leaders in the people, that the people would work together with the leadership of the day in solving the very complex problems that mitigate against the advancement and development of that society. For the NDC government, under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he came into office at a time that Ghana had really reached very low levels in terms of citizens' trust in the ability of government to solve their problems, ease their affairs, and create an enabling environment for citizens to live a life of dignity whilst protecting the environment. So it is true that in the lead up to the 2024 elections, the NDC, like many well-meaning Ghanaians, and it is not a position we have run away from, we still embrace that position. In the lead up to the election, Samson, many Ghanaians, including the NDC then, agreed that there was palpable non-commitment on the side of the administration to fight Galamsey. I take these descriptions from your own staff, Erastus, who says severally that by 2023, 2024, there was no fight anymore. It was a free-for-all matter, and there was really no government commitment, there was no leadership commitment, and the entire fight had failed. We had arrived at this position after several interventions.
I think the people
to fight Galamsey.
The people are not oblivious of all that, and they are not interested in the history. They are interested in the present. They are interested in the promise. Keep the promise.
So
is that difficult to keep?
No, it is not.
So what's the thing?
And I think that
you promised a repeal. Why have you gone to amend?
So if you allow me to lay the foundation of my argument.
This actually was supposed to be a brief session for the other issues. So if you can go straight to the jugular.
People to
go straight to the jugular.
So allow me to
tell
make
us
my
about,
argument.
Tell us about why you have not repealed, but you are doing an amendment.
Why until you understand where we are. Because on this platform, we have been told that we made this promise. Why did we make this promise? Because at the time, we believed there was no commitment. Just as all of you believed, there had been over 5 various actions over the period of the 8-year administration, including Operation Galamsey. A lot of money had gone into the fight against Galamsey. We had ministers of state tell us that their attempts to fight the menace had been met with frustrations at the highest level. I speak here of Professor Frimpong Boateng. It is not fair to create an impression that we arrived at the position for a declaration of a state of emergency based on no substance. There were real substances.
Everybody knows that.
And so when there was a change of government, what we are now measuring, what is the commitment of this new government to depart away from the inactions of the previous government? And that is where our government...
You don't seem to appreciate the breach of trust.
I think that is unfair to say.
You don't appreciate the breach of trust.
I totally agree. And I'm here because I totally...
That you make me a promise. Vote for me.
Yes.
Vote for me. Because it could be that I...
To fight Galamsey.
Okay, so wait. It could be that I voted for your party. And the reason I voted for you would have been that I want Galamsey resolved, and you gave me a solution to resolve it.
Yes.
I didn't vote for your party, but that's a point I'm making. Some people would have done that. Then you come, next day you are saying, the thing you promised, you are not doing it. That's all we are asking. What is it?
So maybe it is a matter of understanding of what doing is. And I think at this point, that's what we would like to invite. We would like to invite all of us, CSO citizens, to hear each other as we speak. Because Samson, your own Erastus Asare Donko, even as he continues on this advocacy, concedes that there is marked commitment in comparison. So we are looking at which set of leaders is showing commitment to act. In what ways are they acting? Yes, we had also campaigned on the back of the repeal of LI 2462. Look, it is the New Patriotic Party that banned mining in forest reserves and illegal mining and made claims of Galamsey as illegal, made those determinations. It is they themselves that also gave power through the parent law, the Minerals and Mining Act, and the LI that enforced the primary provisions of the Act, that gave power to the executive president to be able to release forest reserves for mining. And so when we came in, you are a lawyer. You know that with the matter of mining in forest reserves, there are companies that have legal licenses that were given to them in the past administration. The NDC, under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has not given a single license to any company, whether duly registered company, to mine in forest reserve. We have not done that. We have taken steps because of the legal implications of abrogating through the action of a repeal of a regulation, which will now create a lacuna in the system and allow for those who already have legal licenses to operate in forest reserves. Something you are aware that companies like Newmont obtained legal licenses under the erstwhile administration, and they are mining sustainably in forest reserves. So we agree that mining in forest reserves into the nearest future is not the path we as a government want to take. So how do we resolve it? Do we repeal the LI and create this lacuna, whereas there are companies with a mandate to mine in those forest reserves? What is the implication for judgment debt? Should we not sit around the table with these companies and negotiate and let them know where we are heading to as a country? In the meantime, what are we doing to recover those forests that have been besieged? 8 out of 9 forests, as we speak today, have been moved from the red zone. I have been told in reading the approach to fighting, this Galamsey menace and illegal mining in forest reserves.
The government, we all fault for not doing much. Had presented and started the process to revoke the LI they had passed in 2022. And you took the campaign and said, we will revoke it. It's just too late. They are just trying to do it to buy votes.
Yes.
Then you get voted for. Now you are giving an excuse.
I'm giving a reason. And as a lawyer, you should understand. So does it mean that you didn't think through it
when you promised the people that you will revoke?
It was
when the Akufo-Addo government had already tabled the process to revoke the law.
Parliament.
Yes.
It was not a completed process. Samson, is it fair to the people of Ghana that it would take 8 years to come to the point after we had been told of the clear complicity on the side of those who were now purporting to be wanting to deal with the situation? 8 good years. Is it your considered opinion that we should have allowed for them to continue in office, given the levels of deterioration? As we speak, just yesterday, the IGP had made some raids. We have arrested over 80 individuals around the issue of legal mining. And I'll just again repeat for the benefit of all fair-minded Ghanaians, because this country is what we all have. We all are in it, and we're all concerned about the devastation to the environment, the devastation to our water bodies. So what was the proposed approach to dealing with the issue of the repeal of LI 2462 was to remove the power of the executive presidency. It was a low-hanging fruit, giving the appreciation. Look, we had to come to this point based on engagement. Remember that we were not in office. So we couldn't have engaged these mining companies to understand where they were. with respect to their appetite to work with us, even as an action to repeal the law would have had consequences.
You're saying that the professors at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Don't put words in my mouth. You can ask a question without saying that I'm saying.
You're saying that they don't know what they're about when they insist that an entire repeal is what is required. You are saying that the Ghana coalition against Galamsey.
Yes.
And I was deliberate in listing the membership to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they say, insist that an entire revocation is what it ought to be.
And I'm saying, and government is saying that let's sit around the table and let's agree on the consequences of these actions that are being determined.
You made a promise, keep it. That's what they're saying.
A promise, keeping some promises have consequences on you and I. And you are a lawyer, and I keep repeating it because you know what it means to vary an existing contract.
So the promise was a deceit.
So how could it have been a deceit? How could it? The promise that was that we as a government would fight Galamsey. And the call, you see, distinguish between the promise and the commitment of the NDC regime and the calls of the NDC regime at a time where there was obvious evidence of no commitment. Please let us be fair.
How about the state of emergency, the declaration of a state of emergency on areas where Galamsey is threatening water bodies and the forest?
Are you saying?
How about that? They're insisting on all of that too.
Yes, and we are hearing them at a very deep level. And the engagements will continue because we need to present the truest picture to them and let them know what we have done as our own urgent actions to curtail further deterioration.
Do you think the government should look at these people, should look at Ghanaians and apologize for making those promises because they have you have now realized that it is not what you thought?
What is not what we thought?
Repeal and state of emergency.
You see, we speak of these actions as if they are off the table. I've explained to you that in the interim, whilst we amend LI 2462 to curtail the most problematic provisions in that LI, we have been advised by the Attorney General that he is now going to take steps to amend the parent law, the Minerals and Mining Act, to ensure that we make clear declarations of mining in forest reserves as being illegal.
Okay.
In the meantime, we must engage with all the mining companies that have legal licenses granted to them through the past administration to sit around the table and agree.
Okay.
Whilst we do that, we must present the picture and the options we have for deploying some of these specific recommendations and what it would mean to the public purse.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, let me add, please. May I just wrap up? Please allow me. But this was supposed to be
our preliminary
I beg your
issue.
pardon to
And
let
then
me
we
add
go to
and give some results.
I've seen all of you putting up your hands. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Can I just say something briefly as a way of conclusion? I want to assure Ghanaians that as we speak, the government of Ghana, through the IGP, who is really now the lead in terms of fighting the Galamsey menace, has impounded 1,250 excavators at our ports. We are working with DVLA to track all of these excavators because obviously there are supply and demand issues. So we are trying to deal with those blockages. What are these excavators coming to do? And if you do not have proof that you're bringing these excavators in for construction work, you don't get to clear these excavators. Meanwhile, DVLA is working to track existing excavators in the system. We're using technology as we speak, live technology, flying drones in forest areas to ensure that we capture activity in real time. The government of the NDC did make some specific promises regarding banning on mining in forest reserves, as distinct from the general Galamsey menace that borders on illegal mining.
Thank you.
No one who is really, and in fact, with the coloration, there is no coloration to breach. If any member, and I can say it for a fact, that at the highest level, decisions have been made that no member of the NDC, found in any illegal mining activity will, under the guise of being a member of this government, go scot-free.
Thank you.
No member
thank
of
you.
this party.
Thank you.
And that is
hold on.
all members of our party.
Yes, Sharima, thank
there
you very
much.
We have one more guest who has not been heard. We have one more guest who has not been heard.
For all of us.
Thank you. We have one more guest who has not been heard. But Prof, I'm holding you to 1 minute.
Yes, I mean, because of the intervention my good sister made about the blood gold and all of that, I'm only telling you where we are heading towards. That increasingly, the world will boycott our gold. It is not surprising to me that the bulk of our gold today is exported to United Arab Emirates. And they rather try to more or less like polish it and export to the rest of the world.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't matter how much gold is bringing in terms of revenue. The consequences in terms of the environment cannot be situated side by side the resources we are getting from gold.
Existential threat, we always say.
Yes. And again, just to state the fact.
I said a minute.
Yeah, a minute.
Right.
He never said that he's proposing that Ghana's gold should. He was saying that where we will be getting to. And again, Shamima just ended on a point that, but we are all on the platform. This is an authoritative.
It was written on the door.
It's not about receipt.
Quickly.
You see how she was struggling. This is how governance. This is how governance. I see. We're quiet.
You don't have a substantive.
I don't have. But you see, you need to. This is an authoritative platform. It says that they are not going to condone and allow NDC people to go scot-free.
The president
his deputy general secretary said that they are going to send away MPP people who have license to even mine and put their NDC people there.
He said it.
NDC. No, he said it on several media platforms.
I've not heard.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes, so but you can check. You can check. Okay. What the NDC should do, and President Mahama, is to apologize to the people of Ghana for deceit.
Okay.
Clearly.
Thank you.
They should be apologizing to us.
Thank you for that. Well, preliminary issues sometimes can turn into, because it's a substantive issue, sometimes ourselves, we get fatigued in discussing this, this matter, because we have discussed it over and over and over, but the result is not commensurate even to an entire national, campaign. The Democracy Hub people, Oliver and his friends, are scheduling another demonstration in September?
All those actions
over
are
this.
welcome.
Okay, so let me go now to the Zoom back again to Reverend Father Michael Kweku, who is the Director of Governance, Justice and Peace, Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. Thanks for joining us. When the Catholic Church here in Accra led a demonstration about this, you were speaking and joining civil society like the coalition against Galamsey to demand, the ban, the state of emergency and all of that. How do you feel?
Well, since the problem is still persisting, our feelings haven't changed. Rather unfortunate feelings and rather unflattering statistics, persisting about the problem. You see, I personally, but also the citizens of Ghana, and not least the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, would rather not condone a political he said, she said attitude towards the problem. Because the problem goes beyond mere political expediency or mere, strategies put forward. The problem has to be articulated so that we will find the solution to it. The problem is multi-headed. Its effect is cataclysmic. What we inherited as a garden is gradually turning into a desert. We are gradually finding that the songs that we used to sing, romanticize about the beauty of Ghana and its land and its natural resources, can no longer be sustained because somehow we either desire a certain result, but our actions and effort towards resolving it don't commensurate to what we desire. It is important, therefore, that we unveil the problem and then go all out. Explanations are important, as Haja Shamima has said, and my brother from the MPP has also said. But we are not, without disregarding the value of the explanations, it is important to see how devastating and how life-threatening this problem is for all of us. In fact, it is the reason why, personally, I respect the theme for the upcoming National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving the President has afforded us to it is to reset our minds, to reflect and to renew. He begins by reflect, reset, and renew. And I think that it is important that as Ghanaians, regardless of our political biases and affiliations, that we are able to reflect on this menace and then reset our minds and attitudes and not allow ourselves the opportunity or any inch to give explanations, but just to go straight to the problem, renewing our own selves. So on that score, I give 100 to the president that we have to do this, but no explanations are acceptable in the face of such huge life-destroying problem.
You are with the Catholic Bishops' Conference. I suppose you are also getting tired, because I can't count the number of times the Catholic Bishops' Conference have held meetings, issued statements, and saying that this must stop. The Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, Ken Ashigbe and his group, they say gun-wielding gangs now operate with terrifying boldness. And if this government does not act decisively, no one is safe. Reverend, we had Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisu, the administrator of the Ghana Minerals Development Fund, faced with a harrowing ordeal during an anti-Galamsey operation at Sobenso in the Ashanti region. She and her team and journalists were literally held hostage while accompanying a police task force that arrested some 24 suspects, including 14 Chinese nationals. Her team was ambushed. They were taken hostage, literally. The police that was supposed to help them were rather now seeking to help the gang that had sought an intervention to release the people who had been arrested. Doesn't this give, send shivers down your spine that we are heading for very dangerous times, and the call for a ban, the call for a state of emergency in those areas is urgent?
Samson, I would say we are heading towards the very dangerous place is the understatement of the century. I think we're already there. I think we're already there. We only have to look at the statistics, health statistics. Look at our own water bodies destroyed, forests destroyed. The water authorities will tell us about the turbidity levels of our water and all of that. So we are already there. The problem is not tomorrow. The problem is now. The destruction and devastation is not tomorrow. It is now. So as I say, the effort to fight this cannot be romanticized. We cannot negotiate with it.
Okay.
We have to we have to put aside all our biases, as I have said, political or otherwise, and just see how this problem is so overwhelming that it must take every effort. I am a student of Emil Durkheim on this, that since the problems of society come from society, the solution to the problems must come from society.
Okay. Reverend Michael, thank you very much. But because you mentioned also the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving for the 1st of July, just tell us something briefly about it before we let go of you. Representing the Catholic Bishops' Conference on the organizing committee, it is both for Muslims and for Christians as well. And you hoping that it can be one of the ways we can set our mind, renew our minds. Tell us just briefly about it.
Okay, thank you. On the 25th of April this year, His Excellency the President commissioned a planning committee for the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving based on his own promise that this would be done because he believes that what Ghana enjoys, regardless of our problems, is nothing short of divine favor, and therefore it is only fitting that we spend some time in reflection, we spend some time in prayer, we spend some time in thanksgiving, so that having prayed, having reflected, we'll be able to then reset our minds and our attitudes for a renewed way of looking at how Ghana moves forward in prosperity and towards the common good. So on the 1st of July, which is itself a public holiday, our republic holiday, there will be two services, one Islamic, one Christian. The Christian one begins at 8 a.m. and will be held at the forecourt of the State House. And then at that event, the guest preacher will be His Eminence Cardinal Peter Pia Texan, who is coming down from Rome to join us. And then at 12:30, we shall all gather at the National Mosque at Kanda, where we shall have the Islamic service. And we've invited everyone, every Ghanaian is invited. But the celebrations will not only happen in Accra. We'll have simultaneous celebrations across the country, across the 16 regional capitals and also the district capitals. So it's a day to reflect, it's a day to reset, it's a day to renew for the prosperity of Ghana.
Thank you very much. Reverend Father Michael Kweku is Director of Governance, Justice and Peace, Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. He is the Bishops' Conference representative on the organization of the 1st July National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving, something that President Mahama says should become a annual feature of our calendar, and he has some hopes that we can use some of these vehicles of prayer and gathering to try to change our mindsets because about things like Galamsey. We'll take a break and return to the NPP's flag bearer race. The date has been announced, the 31st of January 2026. There will be the flag bearership race, and so far as we know, Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia, Kennedy Japan, we have Yao Osei Educhum, we also have the Brian Champong, the former Minister for Agric and in previous other portfolios, who are lacing their boots for that, and the accusations about this being made to favor one against the other. We'll find out about that. But briefly, a couple of your messages so that when we return, we just go straight to the MPP's issue. PK from Melembele says that on the fight against Galamsey, so far the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Boa, is doing very well and proactive to combat the Galamsey canker. So far, 8 out of 9 red zone forest reserves recovered. This fight cannot be done just overnight, but it is a clarion call for us to accept the need to preserve our forests, to ensure oxygen, to sustain life, the need for safe water for life. entry, Boesiako says, didn't the NDC government revoke some licenses issued by the NPP government when they came into office? Did they not worry about possible judgment debts? It is interesting. David says that, I feel sad when these politicians talk about Galamsey on the standards of doing only better rather than any drastic action to deal with this issue. Is this the years gone by objective? Shamima. Okay, is this the years gone by objective, Shamima? Now talking like this? Oh, Fred says, playing on our intelligence. Shamima can do better. It's just a breach of the social contract. Simple and unfortunate. Musa Abatoa says that whether you call it a repeal or an amendment, it is mere semantics. The real issue is the intent and the outcome. What matters is what we are trying to achieve. Unfortunately, people like Haruna Mohammed seem more focused on scoring political points than genuinely fighting the canker. And finally, Kingsley says that I don't know whether the state fears it may not be able to overcome the forces in the forest reserve because there are various forces in the forest reserve, including mercenaries. Revocation is therefore not the way forward. However, there must be state of emergency. So he explains that the LI 2426 is simply to regulate activities in forest reserves once permits have been given. Once there is no mineral right given by the Minerals Commission, there is nothing to be done in a forest reserves. So what has been done is something that he endorses. We'll be right back.